Alright, so greetings from Pennsylvania once again. And you should recognize this spot here behind me. I know it looks like there's some random patch of woods, but we're back here at Blue Marsh and at the intersection of Highland Road and Sterner's Mill Road. And recently, we filmed back in there. I started that video by filming, like earlier in spring I had walked down the trail back down behind. We found what looked like an old home site, but then just a week ago or so we went back down there to look for things. Didn't find much. We came back to this spot right behind me here and filmed back there. And in that video I mentioned that I thought that there used to be a school here. I couldn't remember exactly. I thought someone told me or I had read somewhere that there was. But we were correct about that. So just recently in the mail I got this. This is a book, Blue Marsh and the Pleasant Valley, One Look Back. I've been wanting this book for some time. Years ago I borrowed it from somebody. I didn't want to give it back, but I think they actually asked for it back, so I gave it back. I kind of forgot about it though, but then two people recently tried to send it to me. I'll talk about that in a moment. But yeah, we have it now, and guess what's in this book? Besides tons of pictures, it shows we're at Blue Marsh. This place was obtained by eminent domain to build Blue Marsh Lake, but in the process they took over many properties, and that's what this book shows. And back behind us there used to be a schoolhouse called the Highland School, and there's pictures in here of it, and pictures of the kids and the teacher, all that kind of cool stuff. So I'm gonna find a spot here we'll take a look around again. I'm gonna show you, read to you a little bit what's in this book about this spot. So that was interesting. So I wasn't wrong. I just had it as vague memory in my mind that this was a schoolhouse here, and there was. Yeah, so here's that intersection of the road. This is Sterner's Mill Road. Highland Road continues straight up that way. Back down that way is what I call the secret pond. I think there's actually pictures in this book too of what that place may look like. All kinds. I'll talk about more about that too. There's other places, ton of places we can visit here at Blue Marsh and see what they used to look like. But yeah, here's where the schoolhouse used to stand, right in here. It's a little patch of woods. There's some huge sycamore trees in here. This is where it was. A little bit wet today, but that's okay. That's why there's all these non-native plants in here. We talked about that in the other video. Get all the periwinkle growing here, kind of a ground cover. A number of these yew or arborvitaes are non-native. There's all kinds of stuff in here. But yeah, I think in that video too we talked about the kids playing back here during recess. I think the book talks about how the school was also used as a Sunday school. And they had ice cream socials back here too, and all kinds of stuff. But now it looks like this. Like there's a couple of these big trees back here. Not much left. There's that one brick we found last time we were here. Right up in there is the cellar hole. We need to find a place to sit. Maybe right here. Well, I don't know. I'd like to find a bigger log. Alright, I'll get back to you. Alright, just still have to do right here. I guess I'm all in frame there. Yeah, here's another look at that book. Blue Marsh Lake. No, Blue Marsh and the Pleasant Valley. One Last Look. A Pictorial Remembrance. And it's written by Paul Miller and his wife, Kathleen. I'll show you a picture of them in a little bit too. But this was sent to me by Jason. He's the guy, back in 2020, I got the kayak from. You guys remember, I took a trip down to Virginia. That was some time ago. We used that kayak a number of times, especially here at Blue Marsh. But he wasn't the only one that tried to send me this book. I think her name was Gail. She tried to send me this too. But she sent me another book about South Mountain, the resorts on South Mountain. So Paul, the guy who wrote both books, caught that two people trying to send me the same book. So he informed Gail about that. So one's from Jason, and the other book, which I'll show you in a later video, probably when I'm down in camping in Shenandoah National Park, which is be done later this week. So, but thank you to both you guys. Yeah, it's one of those things that I remember it and I forget it, you know, so I never ended up getting it. But yeah, so cool. Let me give you a closer look at it. Right there. So yeah, in a minute here, I'll show you some pictures of the school and read you a little bit about it. This is pretty awesome. It's just cool to see what to see what used to be here and is no longer here. All right, but here we go. So there's a picture of the school, the Highland School. Because it looks like none of the trees are there in this video, in this picture here. Yeah, I was looking at so maybe these grew up later then. Huh. Even that big one over there. Because later this was a private residence, so maybe that's when the things were planted. Although I look here, okay, you know, if I look here, there's a tree right there behind, so maybe they were just obviously a lot smaller back then. So yeah, they just don't show up in the picture right here. But that's the Highland School. That's what used to be here. Look at this. You got this little bell tower. The bell actually still exists somewhere. I think one of the township buildings. If you look at the next page, you can see. Yeah, there's the bell. But look, there's the class. What year is that? Oh, 1907, 1908. You see the teacher off the side there, the kids. I got crows screaming at me. Yeah, so they used to be here. All these kids. And they come out here and play recess and all kinds of stuff. You have to wonder how many of them are still alive. They could come back here and visit this place. Alright, so it's quieted down. Those crows have left me alone. Oh, as soon as I say that, then they speak up again. Alright, so let's read a little bit of this for you. I forgot my reading glasses, but we should be okay. Right. The Highland School, which was dated from about 1900 and replaced an earlier stone building, which is kind of interesting. I always reading this, I wonder where that stone building was here at the same spot or nearby. I don't remember seeing anything around, but it might be worth a look sometime. But when they tore all these buildings down, they didn't really leave a whole lot left. All right. That was located at Highland and Sterners Hill Road, which is right there at that intersection, just north of Brownsville Road. At one time, it was known as a school of few pupils, and it was once recalled that Matthias Spiker, the teacher, was the only one present for an entire week. So imagine being the teacher, coming here for a whole week. You're the only one that's here. No students show up. You know, this was a farming community, so a lot of kids, depending on the time of year, had to farm and stuff. All right. The building was considered very up to date for its time and had a basement with a heater in it. That's nice. Room radiators, a drinking fountain, and 2 large classrooms, big enough for children to play games on inclement days. So instead of having to come out on a rainy day, recess, they could play inside. A Sunday school was also conducted here, and ice cream festivals were held in the schoolyard, with one listed in 1918. It was later converted to a residence until its removal. Yeah, the photo taken was from 1907-1908 term. The school bell was retained by Florence Pyle, and through her efforts, today it survives at the Lower Heidelberg Township building. So cool. There's some history for you here. Yeah, school, Sunday school, ice cream socials, all happened right here. Because it looked, as you can see from the picture, it looked a little bit different. Now it's all kind of grown up here. Looks like maybe a few of these trees were here. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like I said, we were here not too long ago. I thought this was a school. Now, yeah, it was. But how long the school was here, that book doesn't say. I probably should have looked it up before I headed out here, but yeah. A lot of these non-natives I mentioned, like over there, there's those yews or arborvitaes. There's some spruce trees down that way. Those are probably added when this place became a private residence, which could have been as early as the 1950s. When a lot of these one-room schoolhouse deals, well, this one had 2 rooms, you know, kind of faded, and the kids weren't incorporated into a larger, you know, public school system. You know, they got bused, you know, to the larger schools. So, who knows? Maybe the 40s or 50s, it became a private residence, I'm guessing. But yeah. Even when I was reading there earlier, I was thinking, I wonder if anybody from that school, 1907, 1908 year is alive. And now thinking about it, I was like, I don't think so. This is 2025. So even if you were born in 1925, you'd be 100 years old. So to be in school here in 1908, you'd be, yeah, nobody's around. Well, but maybe from later years though. Like I said, it depends on how. Maybe from not that school year. no one's alive, but maybe from later ones, depending on when this ended. It would just be interesting for them to come back here. Maybe they have in the past, but just to see where they used to go to school here and see what it looks like now. And as a teacher myself, yeah, I remember reading in there like how, what was his name, Matthew Spiker, you come to teach the students and nobody shows up for a whole week, it's just you in the makes so it make for some quiet days, but I think also some very boring days, so who knows what he did. I wonder what he did those days when he was the only one here. Yeah, right here it looks like is where that foundation, or that basement maybe was, foundation. Yeah, but then later it became a private residence. I wouldn't mind living in here, even today, if I could. It'd be a nice place to build a little cabin right in this little plot of woods. Anyway, yeah, if you have a spot here at Blue Marsh that you'd like me to film, especially if it's in that book, let me know. I might plan on using that book for a number of locations. Like I said, over, I forget if I mentioned that. Yeah, that one loop. There's a loop hike I do in here called the Skinner's Loop Trail, and I've showed you foundations on that hike. But there's pictures in that book of those buildings. That's just really neat. A place called Fox Lake. Other little towns called, like one little place called Locustdale. All kinds of stuff I can show you. It's just a lot cooler when you actually have pictures of what the foundations you're actually looking at. So yeah, so once again, thanks to Jason for that book, and Gail, even though the one that got sent to me was from Jason. Like I said, I'll show you the book that Gail got me on a later video. But thank you for those books. That's just great. Yeah, there's so many places that I can check out in there, which you'll see in future videos. But yeah, I just wanted to come back here and do a recap, because like I said, I was here not too long ago. I was like, I thought this was a school, and it was. It's just cool to show you the pictures and to read a little bit about the history of this spot, what used to be here, and there's no more. So thanks for joining me on this video. I know it was a shorter one, but when I got that book and saw the pictures in here of this place, I knew I had to come back here and show it to you again. So, all right, thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll see you in the next one. I will be, probably the next video you see, or somewhere close to that, I will be down in Shenandoah National Park for 3 days. I'm camping down at what's called Matthews Arm Campground and trying to visit a number of areas down there, including, I think we're going to try to make it to Old Rag on Friday. But anyway, just a little taste of what's coming up. But anyway, thanks for coming along. Hopefully we'll see you on the next one.